Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So last week, remember that we discussed statement of purpose, five key elements that should be in your statement of purpose regardless of the course you're applying to. This week, I would be sharing with you an example of a statement of purpose. We'll be going through it together because I don't just want to be talking into the air, right? I want to show you what I mean. And of course, if you feel like you do not want to follow this pattern, it's still fine. And I also want you to know that the five elements I mentioned last week do not necessarily need to be like in a chronological order. They do not need to be like, of course, you don't need to mention them chronologically. They could actually be mentioned anywhere in the statement of purpose. It could just be anywhere. If you're coming across my channel for the first time, my name is Janet and I share with you tips and tricks to study abroad. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so quick one. So this is a statement of purpose to study organizational science. This course is an highly interdisciplinary course. They use they use communication. They approach the discipline from the aspect of communication, psychology, sociology, management. So it's a broad one. But yeah, I feel like this is a very good example. Yeah, so if you remember last week, I mentioned that the first thing you want to do in your statement of purpose is the motivation. What motivates you into applying? So if you see from what you can see on the screen, this person started with my interest in organizational science at the blah 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 university stems from my drive to research and design solutions for my identified gap in the field of organizational science. So this person's motivation for applying is from the gap that they have identified. Now, where is that gap coming from? It's coming from their work experience. So they continue doing my work experience in two multinational financial institutions, a fintech firm operating with a matrix structure. And like I mentioned, that you have to integrate your academic foundation. What and what theories have you learned? It sometimes it could just be like, yeah, it could just be like integrating what theories work where you have worked. Yeah, so this person mentioned that the structure of the organizations where they have worked is part of the reasons why they want to actually do this research. During my work experience in two multinational financial institutions, a fintech is a matrix structure that integrates functional and divisional approaches, and the other, a traditional bank using a hybrid divisional functional structure. I witnessed first and the organizational complexities employees face. So this is the motivation. This is why they are applying, right? So next, they explain that in both institutions, they had rapid and frequent changes in operational policies, and they recognize this as a cognitive strain on employees. So that is the problem. They also confirm that they have identified this as a serious challenge and they had to fix it, right? That is why they wanted to do this. That is why they wanted to do what? Carry out this research. My proposed doctoral research, therefore, is an attempt to define and measure organizational policy volatility. And this is, if you read further, it's just trying to explain what they want to do. But if you notice that the motivation is key and they got it point blank here, like it was direct. This is why I want to do this. Then they integrated to some extent the academic foundation, the structure, academic or institutional foundation, the structure of the organization where they work. So next, if you will proceed, they said my research will tackle this issue and how they intend to tackle this issue, right? Yeah. Um and the relentless speed of new policy and operational change actively undoes the very predictability that Max Weber sought through bureaucracy for employees and customers. If you remember that last week, I mentioned when I was explaining academic foundation, I mentioned that you should mention the theories that you have mastered, the project that you have worked on, right? And this is where Max Weber comes in. If you see again, I will use multi-level theory. So it's just an integration of the theory that they have learned. That's that. Then the process through which the continuous policy forces employees to abandon deep comprehension for shallow memories. This is they are trying to integrate the theory and the problem. The theory that they know and the problem that they are trying to say exists. So that's that. They also mentioned that this systemic strain then pushes people towards behaviors described by Merton's structural strain theory. So it's just an emphasis on the theory. So it's not compulsory you include all the theories, and it's not compulsory you include theories and projects together. You can just focus on one. Maybe it's just theories or maybe projects. It depends on what experiences you actually have, or it depends on what your what the problem you want to resolve. Depend on what thing you can contextualize it in. What can you solidly and confidently contextualize it in? It's very important. Then next, they go ahead to say, I will model the failure loop using this theory again. Yeah, so it's very good when doing academic research that you're able to contextualize your work in other people's research, because it gives your work authenticity. But also, it's good if your work is a new field and you are the first person to do it. Is also a very good one. So all these people, they're just trying to list what their work will be contextualizing. And yeah, they go to achieve this, I will carry out organizational ethnography using blah 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 method. They try to define what research method they will use. And it's very, very important, because if you remember that I mentioned that um that you have to contextualize your work. It's very important. If how do you intend to achieve this? How, what theory do you intend to use? If not theory, what research method? Is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? If it's qualitative, okay, do you intend to use ethnography? Do you intend to use observation? Do you intend to use interviews? Be specific about it so they know that you know this theory, you know these methods, right? Yeah. If it's qualitative, do you intend to use surveys? Do you intend to use logs? Mention these things. Very important. So, and if you remember that last week I mentioned institutional fit. Why is it that you are applying to this specific institution? I also mentioned that maybe you should be specific about it. Maybe you want to work with a particular professor and you should try to integrate it. This professor is into this and my work is into this. And I think that we are linked in here. Yeah. Try to link, not just mention the professor, mention how that professor's work align with or is able to help you resolve the problem you want to resolve. So this person goes ahead to say the faculty resources and interdisciplinary nature of the program at the university make it an ideal environment. So they went further to say the complexity of a longitudinal MLM demands expert guidance. I am particularly keen to work with, they mentioned the lecturer, his specialization in MLM is essential for giving my cross-level analysis the statistical rigor in the area of statistics. It needs to separate individual and team variance across the three levels. My focus on cognitive failure necessitates the complementary expertise of the name of another professor who is into this, and the consequences, they're also into the consequences of overtime. So they're trying to just say this person is into this and my work aligns with this person. Do you understand me? Yeah, so that's it. Um, that's very important. Then lastly, you want to mention how important the environment, if the environment you are going to, if it influences your application in any way. Example, if the environment is known from, probably you are going into hospitality or maybe tourism management and you want to go and study in France or maybe in Paris, where the environment where the university is located in, maybe they are into wine, they are known for wine production. This might influence your application basically. Or maybe you want to go and you are going into, maybe you want to study transportation. I know that there's a city in maybe in Singapore that is highly connected. Maybe you want to study trains or something. You can mention if the environment is really good for this is based on this, it would help your application, right? Then also remember that I mentioned if there's any partnership that the university is partnering, like if they have any partnership that you feel like would help, you also mention this. And I also want you to note the last thing that I told you last week about your long-term goal and your short-term goal. Please mention it. My long-term goal is to become a research professor, while my immediate focus, that's the short-term goal. This immediate focus, the short-term, is to develop evidence-based models for managing chronic mental stress. So remember to always add your short-term and your long-term goal. Remember that you cannot just leave it blank, or maybe you don't have any plans for the future. No, no, no. Please, thank you very much for watching my channel. Please make sure to subscribe. I hope that this is able to help you. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave a link to this file, this particular statement of purpose in the description so that it can help you. Yeah. Have a great day. Bye.